name is Taiwan Harris, and the reason that I'm here before you today is to tell y'all the seriousness of gang violence and the effects that gang violence has on the community. Street gangs have been around for nearly 40 years in America, but they have recently emerged in our local communities. I know many of you may be thinking that this guy has no clue of what I'm going through or what my life involves, but I too, not long ago, was involved in street gangs. Based on my research and involvement in street gangs, I convey information that will enlighten you of the tragedy caused by gang violence. Gang violence not only affects the gang members, but it also affects the communities and the families. During the following minutes, I will tell you of the effects that gang violence has on urban communities by showing you how many young men have been slaughtered, how this epidemic affects parents of the victims, and how whole neighborhoods have been destroyed. Street gangs originated in Los Angeles, California. Young men have been losing their lives by vast amounts ever since. According to Billy Wise, with the Violence Prevention Coalition of Los Angeles, gang accounts for 43% of all homicides in Los Angeles, California. In the year 2004, out of 1,038 homicides, 445 of them was gang-related. In March of 2009, David Madeley of CNN wrote an article entitled "Minority Youngsters Dying Weekly." According to this article, 36 teens and children were killed between March and January of 2009. A local reverend ordered that American flag be hung upside down outside of his church. This was a symbol of a growing death toll amongst the city. This epidemic had got so bad in Chicago that children were having to be walked to school by their parents and by local law enforcement officials to be ensured that they will make it to school safely. On March of 2010, the Federal Bureau of Investigation of Atlanta released information concerning an arrest of 26 MS-13 members. The 29-count of indictment alleged that defendants participated in robberies, murders, and different beatings in the metropolitan Atlanta area. MS-13 is a ruthless gang, and they use violence to spread fear throughout the community. According to Sally Yates, the gang members seized every opportunity that they could to beat people, stab people, and shoot people to impose fear on people. According to symbols that are being displayed on different buildings, on different signs around town, it's evident that the local gangs, local cities are being infested with gangs. Based on trends from larger cities where there is gangs, there's bloodshed. Gang violence also has a major effect on parents of the victims. On February 14, 1998, at a symposium on gang violence sponsored by the California Democratic Party, Halford H. Fairchild presented a paper titled "The Psychological Cost of Gang Violence." In this article, Fairchild states that a parent never fully recuperates from the loss of a child. Fairchild said that losing a child can be traumatic in itself, but when it is violent, the costs are greater, especially when it's senseless, random acts of violence. Parents and families tend to feel like they want to go out and get revenge or have feelings of rage against the person that committed this crime against their child. And here I have a video that show you the effects that gang violence can have on a parent.
My son was killed on October 4th, 1991, about 2:30 a.m. He was in a red Camaro. Some poor guys had decided that a friend of his was going to die that night, but instead of my son, the first bullet that they fired hit him in the back of his head, came out of his forehead, which left a large hole here. Man, the reason I'm here today, I want to talk to the kids about how a mother feels when she loses a child. When you lose a child, it's just like you lose a part of yourself. I have 4 girls and 1 son. I don't care if you got 10,000, when you lose one, you lose a part of you.
These 4 persons before you now light these candles today because these ladies have come, and I want them to stand, if they will, and face the audience. Our Father in heaven, I know how difficult it is, and yet I don't know because I've never lost a child. But it must be tough when flesh of your flesh and bone of your bone, and the prime and youthfulness of their lives are cut down by an unmerited and unwarranted bullet. But oh God, these mothers represent many mothers across this land.
When you lose a child, you lose your hopes, your dreams that you have for that child. It's been so many nights I've laid in my bed and my pillows just soaked with tears. Thinking about my child, thinking about the night I saw him in his car, and reflecting back to seeing him laying there like that, like he's asleep. And Lord, I'll never see him again.
Finally, gang violence has a severe effect on the community as a whole. Here's a direct quote from Fairchild. This epidemic of gang violence places our whole community under siege mentality. We live in constant fear that we may be the next random victim of a drive-by shooting, of a carjacking, of a burglary, of a drug deal gone bad. We are psychologically numb to the violence around us. And when we hear gunshots in the night, and we start to really not think twice about it. Fairchild moves forward to say that gang violence also imperils our families and communities because gang members often spend many years or even whole lives in prison. Then the families of the victims are robbed of their potential breadwinners were it not for the involvement of gangs and related crimes. 25 years to life incarcerates the man behind bars, but it also incarcerates his children and his family who are left to struggle to provide. As you can see, there is so much more to being involved in gangs than meets the eye. Not only is the life of the gang member in jeopardy, but for everybody that's around them. Too many young lives are ended, too many parents are left to bear unnecessary burdens, and too many communities are torn apart due to gang violence. Gang violence has been the root of so much pain and grief since its surface. Enough is